Are they hard? Are they usually hard during this? They're turned on
They get
by it?
excited.
They do?
Yeah. I mean, I don't invite, the dick to be the center focus.
Welcome to the Mass Swingers podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Layla, and on this podcast, we are bringing real stories and experiences of non-monogamy. We wanted to highlight the fun side of unlearning monogamy and how liberating it can be.
Or how awkward it can be, or ridiculous, but how it's always an adventure. All of our stories are real, all the guests that we have are real, but their names may not be. Regardless, there's a lot to laugh about and learn about here.
We do talk about adult experiences for adult ears. So pro tip here, if you think it might be inappropriate for someone else, we do ask that you be mindful of how you choose to listen to us.
And with that being said, let's hop in.
Welcome back to the Mass Swingers podcast. What's up, Layla?
Hi, Brian.
I'm excited. Why am I excited today, Layla?
Because we're in the studio for the first time ever.
For the first fucking time with masks. And we have a phenomenal guest today. Her name is Sophia. I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but should I say what I know about you?
Oh, that'd be interesting.
All right. What I love about you. So first, the bangs caught my attention. I was like, this person's a little different. This looks pretty hot. And but then I learned about the parties that you throw. And what caught my attention was that there's a female-led focus to so many of the events. And even the fact that you were having a female-only BDSM party. And I think I messaged you. I said, I wish I could go. Like, I wish I could change genders just for a day. But I'll do the next best thing. I'll send a few ladies that I know to scope it out. And they had a blast. And so I've always wanted to have you on as an episode. I've heard you do a phenomenal job with community building. And we think the listeners will love hearing about your experience. So thanks for being here today.
My pleasure. That was a great intro, very comprehensive.
He's shaking. He has no idea what he just said.
I blacked out.
Well, my name is Sophia Domina. I live in LA and I throw play parties, and I'm also a professional dominatrix.
Yes.
That's amazing. I wanted to talk to a professional dominatrix for a long time because I've talked to other dominatrixes that maybe perhaps aren't like professional. So what makes you like a professional, what makes someone like a real dominatrix?
Well, a lot of doms start in the lifestyle. So you kind of just get a feel for what it's like to be the dominant in a dynamic. And maybe you have subs who serve you domestically or sexually. You have a connection or dynamic. But a professional dom charges for sessions, and it's a business.
How much do you charge?
It depends. Starts at $400. It's a pretty good wage. I'm like a pretty well-paid lawyer salary.
Yes.
But you're an entrepreneur. You're constantly creating media and promoting yourself and trying to reach a community of people who would like to session with you.
How did you get started? Because did you wake up one day and you're like, I want to torture people and really what? How did you even get started?
I wish it had been that easy. I'm less of a sadist and more of a sensualist.
Okay.
And when I was newly dating women, I found myself on a date with a lifestyle dom. I didn't know that.
What's a lifestyle dom?
So that means she wasn't doing it professionally, but it was a big part of her romantic life to be the dominant in the relationship. And she had protocol and people were serving her as submissives. And our first date, she looked across the table and she goes, "You're a baby dom."
She said that to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was not in the lifestyle. I didn't know anything about BDSM. Like I said, I was just even newly exploring my bisexuality. But what she picked up on was that I'm an alpha personality. And I like to direct things. My background is film directing. So it was like all these things started clicking in place. Like, oh, this is my destiny.
So did she put you under her wing and say, I'm going to show you the way? How did it go after that?
She did. And I liked her aesthetic. I liked her sort of brand of domination. She wasn't kind of like slinking around dungeons. It was more elevated. And I eventually just started calling it Dompton Abbey because that was the style.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
There's so many terms you're saying that have not been brought up on the podcast. How do you define sub as a dom? How do you define sub? How do you define dom?
That's a great question. It's psychological before it's ever physical. Like, I wouldn't order someone to serve me or crawl around on their hands and knees unless we decided that's the dynamic. Or maybe we're switching and I'm doing that. Probably not. But
Oh, I was gonna say, are you ever the sub?
no, I'm not switchy psychologically, but I'm switchy physically.
Okay.
So that's a thing that I like to explain is like, there's top bottom, but that's physical.
Mm-hmm.
But Dom Sub is more of like, we've agreed on these psychological protocol or dynamic where one is in charge and the other one responds.
Okay. So top is more of a physical term. Bottom's more of you're the receiving end of it, right? So you're a bottom. So then would the term power bottom be more like a psychological piece attached to the physical position?
It can be. You can connect the psychological and the physical. It's what you decide. And we do these things, subconsciously without communication. But if you do it with communication, then you're like, oh, you're actually subbing.
Uh-huh.
So I'm always calling the shots as the Dom, and you are always responding as the sub. But power sub to me, it just sounds like you've got a lot of work to do.
Wait, what do you mean? Because I have to tell you what to do to me when I want it. But
I'm just saying, if you're calling yourself a power sub, like you're working hard,
that's so interesting.
or like a power bottom.
How would you know? I don't think I've ever looked in the mirror and said, "Hey, am I a sub? Am I a dom?" But I'm curious if someone was curious what they were, what could they ask themselves, or what life patterns could they look at to determine that I'm a sub or I'm a dom?
Well, you can't really look at your vanilla life so much because you may be a leader or manager, in work or in family, but like sexually, you want to be out of control or you want to be directed.
Okay.
But then, like I said, some of us want to switch, and it can be a mood or time of life where you're like, oh no, someone else can take the reins.
100%. I had my first dom experience last year.
Yeah.
My first time. And I never had an interest in it ever because I thought that I had to like pain. Like I thought people that were into BDSM liked it because they enjoyed feeling pain, and that's not my thing. But I had reached out to some guy that I met at a party and was like, hey, like I'd love to hang out sometime. He's like, well, this is my dynamic. He sent me a long email, which I thought was interesting because he's going into the specifics of this is how, like how do you want to feel? How does, like this is the things I do bondage, I do this, that, and the other. Like, are you comfortable with that? And I'm thinking, no, but I'll try it. I'm not comfortable with it. And it turns out it's so healing because I have a very big personality and I run the show. So when I'm in the position of a sub, I'm letting go of control. However, I still have all the control, which is so weird. And it's actually healed some major trauma that 15 years of therapy could never fill.
That's amazing.
Ever. So unfortunately, I only see him like once every 5 or 6 months. But every time I go, it's like I did 10 years of therapy. Do you have subs that kind of have experiences like that too?
Of course. And the more communication you do on the front end, like really understanding the origins of someone's desire, and also their limits, their boundaries, how far they want to maybe be pushed, like the better experience you can have and the more therapeutic it can be.
And these are conversations you're having with the subs beforehand, right? Where you're like, what are your boundaries? What are your desires? Do you find that when you're acting out a scene with them, a lot of the times that changes? Because for me, it changed tremendously. I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. And the second I was in subspace, which again, didn't know what that was, I was like, light me on fire. I don't care. Like, I want to do anything and everything. I don't want to lose this feeling.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that shows that there was some trust built maybe kind of quickly, but probably because of that communication beforehand. And if the dominant and the submissive are experienced, at least one of them is, you can act more responsibly in doing these things that would otherwise be kind of risky, dangerous.
Right. So, okay. You come from an interesting background.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into that, because I don't want to get too far away from. So I'm learning new things on this podcast already. One, Layla, we haven't talked about this situation, I don't think. So this is new information. I want to get back to that. But you also, I didn't know that you did this professionally. That people pay you as a Dom service? And I have a few questions about that.
Ask away.
All right. So when they're reaching out, are they sub the whole time? Like, do they reach out and say, here's the sort of thing I want you to do to me? Or do they just show up and it's like, Sophia, take the reins. I'll do whatever you tell me to.
No, so I have them inquire on my website. If they can't follow instructions, I won't even respond. So that's the test. Can you follow my instructions?
On the website.
To inquire properly.
Okay.
I have a checklist. So I'm dirty in this spreadsheet. So I have this Google checklist that I send them if I want to see them. A lot of people I'm not interested in.
And what are some things you look for?
They need to come across with respect and good communication.
Okay.
I'm not going to negotiate my prices. So if they can't afford me, it's just...
So that's a turn off immediately if someone's trying to get you down.
Yeah, there's, this is not the bargain basement. So, and then, if they can follow instructions, I want to verify their identity in some way. We can still be discreet.
Right.
Not going to share that with anyone, but I need to feel safe in the session. I require a deposit, but and then sometimes I ask them to journal to me.
Ooh, wait, what does that look like?
So I'll give them a prompt and a word count and a deadline.
You give them a word
Why is that
count
so
and a
hot?
deadline.
I don't know why that's so hot to me.
That's a lot of boxes. You're like really boxing the playpen in.
No, I'm obsessed.
Okay, word count.
I think I'm going to do that before I play with everybody from now on, honestly. I need an essay about how hot I am, and then we'll move forward.
I think the reality is they're not willing to do that. They might not be worth the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of this, how bad do you want it kind of situation.
Well, and also that comes back to I want to play with good communicators who know themselves.
Uh-huh.
Right. So what are they writing about? What are some of these journal prompts?
So one that I commonly ask is what is the origin of your submissive desires? When did it start? Was it with a particular person? Was it the hot mean girl at school? Was it your auntie who made you rub her feet? It's going to go back to adolescence.
Always, every time.
Is there usually some sort of underlying, whether it's a trauma or whether it's an experience that they had when they were younger? Is there usually one thing that kind of makes people go, this is what makes me a good sub?
Very often there is.
Yeah.
Some people are no, I've just always felt this way, or I just love women in charge.
Mm-hmm. And
some of them are switches. But I'd like to kind of get to the bottom. And then a lot of times the people who journal are that was amazing. I learned so much about myself.
That's really nice.
They don't find it difficult or demeaning in any way.
I want to write one. What is the character limit?
I
What would you give
usually
me?
will cap you at 600 words because I don't be too verbose.
Okay.
Get to the point.
Okay, you don't want a 10-page essay.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
So 600 words.
Yeah.
And what are 600 words, what I'm looking for in this situation, or why I want this.
The origin of your submissive desires.
He's gonna do it.
Instructions
Where
are
did it
so
start?
No, he's gonna do it.
specific. The origin of my submissive desires.
Think back, Brian.
I don't think I have.
I think the way
But-
you grew up, definitely.
And
You
so
were-
that's what we have in common. This comes back to your
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Okay. Layla, do you want to ask your
Well, I just think we've had other previous Jehovah's Witness, because you were a previous Jehovah's Witness, correct? And we've had others come on and talk about their experience kind of coming out of that religion and just kind of finding their own identity outside of that. I mean, you guys don't celebrate your birthdays. You guys this is so wild to me that you just don't really get to explore your sexuality. And that's just so much trauma right then and there. Were your parents Jehovah's Witnesses? You grew up in the religion, and then what transpired for you to be I'm going to try something different?
I was indoctrinated at 12, and I was in it to win it with God. I became a missionary as an adult, and I stayed for 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one day you were just I'm going to be a dominatrix instead.
I wish it was that easy. I just changed clothes.
immediate switch? Yeah.
No, I started realizing that I was being brainwashed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know I was in a cult, but I knew that the message was just so belligerent with this one message that you always had to do more. And I was I'm a slave laborer for this organization. And this doesn't really feel like it has anything to do with God.
Mm-hmm.
So with great struggle over many years of losing my faith, I finally had the courage to leave.
Good for you. Is your family still in the religion?
Yes, and I was married, so I had guilt about leaving my husband, who is so deeply indoctrinated.
Okay.
Still.
Yeah.
And
Is it still your husband?
no.
Ex? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you discommunicated right now?
No. So I left and never went back.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, Layla, there's this interesting loophole where they can't really kick you out unless you go in and have a meeting with them. And so we're both technically in this religion, just inactive.
Uh-huh.
But if they
I guess
report on
so.
their roster numbers, we're still included in the roster, right? But so when I found this out, we were on a Zoom call, I think. And so we were ending the Zoom call, found out about this. But you were much further than I left at 18. You were a missionary, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the highest level that you can get, especially as a woman in the religion, because they don't allow women a lot of responsibility. So I could see how you might shift and say, like, I've been in this religion for 25 years where women were complete subs everywhere you look. And then you've evolved and said, no, that's not who I am. So when you look back, when I think back about you spending 25 years in that, but this is who you authentically are, that must have felt like torture at some times.
Many times. And part of the reason that Dom on the date identified me as a baby Dom was because I told her about my marriage, where we definitely had this unspoken dynamic of me being the Dom and him being the sub, which was totally contrary to what we were supposed to do, to make God happy.
Right.
So we were constantly frustrated. I was frustrated. And yeah, I'd always been like a bossy little girl and a leader. And yeah, so I was just, once I left, I was like, oh, that part of me that was real from 0 to 12 is still in there deep down. And so I had someone to go back to, which was helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. So you think that made it easier for you than someone who might have been raised Jehovah's Witness or Mormon or, Catholic?
Certainly.
Because their baseline programming is the religion.
Exactly. Yeah. So I feel grateful in that way. Like my parents were hippies. My dad was a musician. So that was like, those were the golden years. I was like, oh, I want to go back to that. But like as an adult, I want to create this world and this community that's like my bohemian childhood was.
Yeah. Are you still close with your family?
So to my mom's credit, we're still close, even though she's still in it.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
And she knows what you do now?
That's an interesting question. She knows elements of it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
She just doesn't ask questions.
Yeah, there's a sanitized version of it. There's other things she kind of covers her ears and is like, don't tell me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my parents know. I told them after, I have like this weird attachment to my parents. And I don't know if it's because I grew up in the South, Christian lifestyle, like all that. So I just kind of put my parents on a pedestal. And so I had a really great therapy session where my therapist is like, you need your, stand your ground, live your own life. And I took that as like, Ma, guess what? I'm a swinger.
Like all that. I'm going to tell you the wildest thing.
I just told her. She's like, well, you're on speakerphone. Your father's here. I was like, dope. But they didn't talk to me for like 2 weeks. They didn't talk to me. They wanted nothing to do with me. They're like, you and your husband are going to get, because we're also polyamorous. So I was explaining to them, Cody had a girlfriend at the time. I was seeing people and they were, you guys are going to get divorced. What's missing out of your relationship? Like all those things. 2 weeks later, my mom sent me a picture at Home Goods of a pineapple pillow. And she goes, do you want this? I'm like, first of all, yes. Second of all, I guess we're cool now. So they've known for like 2 years, kind of what you said about your mom. Sometimes my mom will cover her ears. My dad wants nothing to do with anything, which is fair. But my mom from time to time will be like, my husband's name's Cody. How's Cody's girlfriend? Okay, that's nice to hear. Okay.
Wow.
Like, so she's politely curious, you know what I mean? But your family doesn't know anything, right?
And I dread it. They will find out.
You think so?
Listen, my family, they're like super Jehovah's Witness. So my dad snitches on us to the church. Like I've been snitched on by my dad. My mom's been snitched on by my dad. My little brother is discommunicated now because my dad did the snitching. So there is no scenario in which my parents find out and I don't get kicked out of the religion. So it's not that I dread I couldn't give a shit. I don't care if the religion finds out. It's more so I don't want to. My mom is supposed to stop talking to me after that happens, and which is unfair. But that's the thing. I love that you have so much support, Layla.
I'm really lucky. It's rare.
I've just debated. Like, they're gonna find out eventually because look, I'm on a podcast. I'm wearing a mask, but it ain't a ski mask, right? So, is it better to get ahead of it or just let it happen?
I think that technically you can't be disfellowshipped without sitting in a room with 3 men probing into your personal and sexual life. That's their protocol.
Right.
So you left and you're living your life.
But didn't they always say Michael Jackson got disfellowshipped for making Thriller?
Did they?
That's what I heard. You
Wow.
ever heard that? So there are a lot of people that used to be Jehovah's Witness, Layla, you may not know. Like Michael Jackson.
What?
Prince.
What?
Yeah.
Serena and Venus.
No idea.
I mean, the Mormons are so much better at when people are successful, helping them out, helping them become more successful because they get the 10% cut back,
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when Jehovah's Witnesses become successful, they almost always just get kicked out. It's this really weird thing.
I do think that the organization, as we would call it from the inside, I do think they liked having some rich celeb members like Prince.
Internally, they did.
Yeah, they're pretty money grubbing.
They do like donations.
They pretend otherwise, but that was one of the messages. I was like, I can't hear this anymore. Like,
Okay.
I'm already a missionary. They don't pay you to be a missionary. Well, not when I did it.
Well, how are you getting money then? Because are you allowed to? Oh, you're still allowed to work.
Slave.
Okay, I didn't know if I didn't know if y'all were even allowed to work.
A super sub. All right, I have a question because I don't want to talk about the religion the whole time. But
Sorry, we could go on.
I know, I could too.
Before I have one more question. Like, do you think most of the men in the religion are subs?
Oh, interesting. No, not most, but if you're just looking at the demographic of men in the world, a lot more than will admit have submissive desires.
I would think that too.
Yeah.
And you think they don't feel safe admitting it? Or do you think they don't know?
I think mostly they don't feel safe because our masculine ideal, doesn't allow for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What percentage of men that go to your parties identify as sub or switch?
Surprisingly, there are not a lot of subs. That's not a requirement.
Okay.
I just require that the male guests sign off on the mission of female pleasure first.
Interesting.
And they can be great tops as long as they're service tops. They're there to service women's fantasies and desires.
So then what do you look for from them? You want them to ask the woman what they want? Like, what are you looking for in men that come to your party?
Exactly. So I will give them a brief little talk before the party begins and encourage them, if they want to engage with a woman, go get her a cocktail. Ask if you can massage her feet. Generally be, respectful and of use. Very simple things.
Honestly, that's amazing. I got to go to one of these parties. I'm dead serious. I'm going to go. That sounds amazing.
You should.
I'll go with you.
Would you want to go?
I'm scared to go, though.
I think he's a secret sub.
I'm not.
Yes, I think you would love it. I think you would.
You don't have to be, though. That's the beauty of it.
I've been subbed physically a handful of times, and I would say emotionally one time. It was kind of a trip. It was a trippy, emotional, euphoric experience. It was like the second time I got pegged.
Yeah, that's physical. What she does is a lot more it's mental, it's a little bit more emotional.
But what I'm saying is, like, I had been pegged before physically, but I didn't feel like an emotional, like, I'm out of control. But there was one time where I actually did feel emotionally out of control. It did feel like it was something more than physical the second time that I did it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Does that sound crazy?
That's what I'm saying. Top and bottom, it can be totally irrelevant to Dom Sub.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a bottom, but not really psychologically submissive to the top.
Right.
And
But
I think
you felt both at that time.
Yeah, because I started crying. I think the second time, all right, I'm just going to let them do this and trust that it's going to go well. And that was a weird feeling for me in bed, period.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can relate.
Right. But I think if you had a conversation with someone beforehand and did like a prompt and had a better idea of what like the expectations would be, because you went into that kind of blind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't think you've actually really experienced it yet.
Layla's pitching you right now. Her goal today was to get you to sub me. I don't know.
I think you'd really like it because you have a big personality. You have a lot of like, you're controlling a lot of things. You have a lot of balls up in the air, and I mean, you do some great work doing coaching where you're like top boss, you know. So for you to have someone that you trust and someone that's able to come in and, like I said before, like like it's letting go of control, but you get to steer the ship.
But can they also be a brat? I have a feeling I'd still be a brat about it, right?
So I don't particularly like brats.
Okay, should we define? How do you define a brat? Because you were throwing terms at me.
Love them.
Okay, what's a brat? How would you define a brat?
A brat is someone who, as a sub, pushes back. It could be verbal. It could be physical. It's this attitude of kind of like, well, make me.
Right.
Your wife.
My wife's a brat. My wife doesn't want to be, she will not, we have a cage. And you can put her on a leash, but she will not get in the cage by herself. You have to force her into the cage. Yeah. She is a brat. It gets a little annoying.
Yeah, you have to like that dynamic and agree on it. Because sometimes people brat me and I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Do you like that, or is that not really?
I don't really like that.
No, I can't imagine I would either. No. Do you ever like give classes on how to be a dominatrix?
Prior to the play parties, I have a workshop just for women. It's a female domination workshop. So not all the women there want to be doms, but it's about just tapping into whatever desires you have and really like thinking about it, deciding you're worth it, you deserve to have that experience, and then the party starts. And so the women are like let loose with all this confidence.
That's what I'm most afraid of. All right. So you, and this is what stops me because I see your parties, so I throw them up on the app, and it says like women arrive at 8, men arrive at 9. And so in my mind, it's like, what is happening from 8 till 9 that I can't see? And I'm gonna walk in there and
loading
just
our weapons.
Yeah.
We're strapping on.
No, I'm fascinated by this because I've been saying for years that I want to take classes. I want to learn how to be a dom appropriately. I threw a torture party for a friend of mine where it was a similar kind of thing. And it was probably like 10 girls and him. And he wanted to be like bound and gagged. And he was like tied to the bed. And he wanted to wish that he didn't come. Like he didn't like go there. And so that was my first experience doing something like that. And I honed into something that I felt so powerful and so sexy. Did you ever see the movie House of a Thousand Corpses?
No.
Oh, fuck. Well, for anyone that has, there's a woman on there, and it's Rob Zombie's wife, and she's like this crazy psycho bitch that like kills people. Not that I want to kill people, but she's beautiful, and she has this beautiful long crimped hair, and I can't imagine I would be the type of dom that is too dark, because that's not really my aesthetic. I imagine it to be, and I know you said that you're not really into more of the sadistic stuff, but I think I might be.
You sometimes will only know when you try it.
Right.
And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, no, I am into that. And it's not that I don't like any of it. It's just not my main drive.
Right.
Is to cause pain.
Right. See, I want to like psycho, this sounds so messed up. I might even cut this, but like I kind of, and I told this to my husband and he hates that I even say things like this out loud, but like I want to like psychologically kind of fuck with someone consensually.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, what do you mean?
No, like my friend that we had the torture party for that, you know.
Right.
He says, I want you to make me wish I didn't come over. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Bet.
He wants to be pushed that far.
He wants to be pushed. I think it almost turns me on to find someone's limit, especially if they're telling me that they don't have one. Mm-hmm. It's a challenge. Mm-hmm. And so can you relate to that? Like someone be like, I have no limits. And you're like, do you ever say like, okay, well, we'll see about that?
I don't trust the no limits. To me, that sounds like a person who's not really examined. They didn't do the work to tell me the limits.
That makes sense.
So, and it depends too. Is this a client or is this a lifestyle situation? Because if it's a client, okay, they're showing value for me doing all the work, the forethought, and then the directing by paying me. But if it's not, then they're just showing up like, yeah, what do you got?
Okay.
And I don't like that.
Huh.
Right.
Okay.
Like, do your worst. Let's see. Like, no.
Interesting, because I kind of do that with my dom, because he knows I do have boundaries that we've discussed, but I'll walk in and I'm like, what are we doing tonight? You know, and usually it's, you know, like little surprises throughout the evening where he'll like be like, okay, I have, what did he do? The last time he gave me like a kid's like ABC book. And he was like, okay, like, and he had a vibrator in me. And he's like, I need you to trace the letters. And he would like turn it up all the way. And I'm like, oh, and he'd be like, A is for what? And he's like, A is for ass. And he'd bend me over and slap me. And we go,
Oh, this
B.
is so creative.
Isn't this fun?
It's really creative.
He's also done this one time where he dressed me up like a present. He made me stand on top of a table. He dressed me up like a present, put bows all over me. He's like, you think you are just God's gift to men, don't you? You just think you're God's gift to men. And I was like, yeah, I do. Like, it's a little bit of that.
Dressed you like a present. Wait, did he like wrap you in Christmas paper? What did he do?
It was birthday paper.
It was birthday paper?
It was birthday
That's
paper and
hilarious.
ribbon and like bows. And I thought it was so precious. And then at the end, like he makes me feel so loved, but also like, I don't know how to explain it. Because I mean, when you're doing these sessions, are they primarily men that you're doing them with?
Mostly.
Okay.
I also love to dominate women.
Okay.
It's just that they're less likely to be clients. It's more in the lifestyle.
Right.
Or at the party, I do like what I call DJing. You know, or not fully engaging, but I'm like, I'm gonna come over here and make this situation a little more fun or express my dominance in a way that,
Right.
you know, that's pickup play where you kind of don't want to go too far because you haven't had all the discussion beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of in the moment have got to be really good at reading the situation.
Do you have moments like, are you the type of dom where you have kind of like more of a nurturing side, like while you're doing it too, where you're like, oh, good boy, and like things like that?
Definitely.
Okay.
So there's like 4 archetypes of doms, at least for female doms, and I'm definitely like the queen, mother, nurturer type, more than the sadist.
Okay.
The sadist is pure, like, humiliate you and
They really enjoy inflicting pain.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And sometimes it can be to the point of drawing blood. I've seen nails through the penis. And yeah, like it can be brutal. Not knocking it.
Have you seen it like in person?
Oh, yeah.
And does
There
it
are
make you
parties for
squirm?
that.
Does it make you squirm too?
I've
That's
actually
crazy.
kind of like trained myself to not resist it and really see the beauty in people getting what they want in ways that, you know, maybe it's not what I want, but I can see it fulfills them.
Oh, God. Okay,
know-
sorry. I have just one more question about the nail.
So many men are fast forwarding right now. Like, no, don't say anymore.
But so Layla, I mean, I'm a brat. Clearly I'm a brat if I was a sub. And so she's like, I think you have a switch. I'm like, no, I don't. No. Cause like, don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But I
see
do like a party, and this has been getting around because I mentioned it on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And so now every time I'm at a play party, someone will come over and they'll be like, can I bite your dick?
Oh,
Because I like having my dick bitten like
Okay.
hard. But you got to go deeper, and then Layla's done it. You got to go deeper and then like really get your teeth into it. Not quite putting a nail through something, but definitely a little bit of like inflicting pain on me to a certain level. And I regret saying it because like now people just do it without asking. And there's
Well, they should
it's
always
been
ask.
they should always ask.
Should
Are
always
these
ask.
people you know?
They're people I know, but you know, you gotta, if you're gonna bite, listen, people, if you bite a penis, you want to make sure the penis is hard, okay? But it has to be really, really durable at that point, you know? Otherwise, you will draw blood, and someone has drawn blood. Not as fun. Layla's mouth is open. You can't see it.
I know you
behind
can't.
the mask.
Yikes.
Yeah. So, like, I mean, maybe there is a sub tendency. My wife, for the past week, has been doing this thing where she will kind of hide in the house. And when I walk by, she's had like a whip in her hand, and she keeps trying to spank me. And so I'm starting to feel that there is a little bit of, my wife probably does want, she at least
I
wants
just
to
got
spank
turned
me.
on. That was
You got turned on?
a great visual.
Because she's really
What?
small. She's
I
been like
haven't
hiding in
yeah.
closets and behind the couch, and I'll walk by and she's coming out and she's trying to get a good one in on me. And I have a feeling that she wants to open up and actually put me down for a bit. So we'll see.
Okay.
Should we actually, would you work with us if we reached out?
I just have to say, what you're describing is masochism. You enjoy receiving pain.
Oh, that's different,
different.
from subbing.
Now,
Okay,
someone has
say
to
more.
inflict it.
Right.
So it's probably the top or the dom. But that doesn't mean that you want to be bossed around or ordered around. It's just like you like the physical sensation of pain.
Yeah.
So that's where you have to contemplate whether you actually want to be directed.
And also, do you want to be directed by your wife? Because I can't imagine really any kind of dynamic like that with my husband. I would prefer it with someone else. I feel like that's normal, right?
It would be, for me, it would be more interesting to me to have someone like, you're here, so we'll just use you as an example, Sophia, which would be lovely. But like, if you came in and played a scene out for both of us, it would probably be more fun for me that way than my wife doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. There's such a familiarity between you two. The element of surprise is harder. She's trying by hiding. I see what she's doing. She's like, I'm literally going to surprise you.
Yeah.
She is trying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We're going to let her keep trying.
I love it.
How long have you been doing this?
I started in the lifestyle in 2019.
Okay, so relatively newish.
Yes.
Same
and
with
then
me.
professional, only a couple years.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like, how do you get clientele for this? Like, I know you have a website. I know you're writing a book, which I want to talk about more, but how did you find clients?
So besides the obvious ways with your website and social media, there are other sites where people look for DOMs or try to make those connections. FetLife sometimes. Right. Yeah, it's surprising. Sometimes I get referrals or people know about the parties.
That's so cool. I want to be a dominatrix one day.
You do. What are your if Layla's getting into this, what are your pointers for her? Like your first 5 pointers, something she should consider in doing this.
Well, number one, if you want to be a professional dominatrix, that's a different thing than the lifestyle.
See, I don't know I want to make money. Money's
you do it.
Then
if you don't.
Well, then you've got to view it as a business. You want to be good at your craft, so you need to practice it and study it and find the ethics, because there are some DOMs who don't act ethically. But yeah, you have to decide, do I really want to run a business?
Right. I would probably start lifestyle and to see if it's something I even enjoyed. Also, I'd be worried about like the safety piece. Are you performing these scenes at your own home? Are you going to them?
Yes, I prefer to operate in my space. Sometimes I'll do a video call, we'll get acquainted that way, and you can do background checks. If you need to know, who they are in real life, you can do that, or you can get references. But yeah, I would never do something that I didn't feel safe doing.
Good. And we can always cut this part too, but has anything ever happened where it was more of like a scary situation for you?
There was one who was asking if there were cameras and was not giving me enough information about himself. And I was like, I'll do this thing I never do. I'll rent a dungeon for this session. But then his line of questioning was unsettling and I canceled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It's one of those things where you follow your gut, huh?
Yeah. But I've never had anything transpire with a client or in a session.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot of hoops before you get there, right? The essay, they have to turn in some sort of ID, et cetera, et cetera. So by the time they get to your door, you pretty much know who's coming and what they want.
Right.
You've weeded out a lot of the BS.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not like a high quantity Dom. I want high quality, and so I have fewer clients.
What if you can discuss it? Because I know there's a certain level of
Confidentiality.
Confidentiality. That's the word. Thank you, Layla.
HIPAA.
Yeah, my other better half. What are some of the crazier things you've done or been asked to do by clients?
One of my early ones was funny. He wanted to be wrapped in plastic, kind of, cocoon-like.
Like saran wrap?
I'm trying not to laugh.
And so I was like, you bring it. So he just
expensive now.
Yeah, just literally from the grocery store. And he wanted to be trampled. So that means I'm stepping on him.
In heels.
Well, it's if you're an experienced bottom and you can take that pain, you also need the top needs to be experienced. You don't want to puncture any organs. So with him, I went barefoot. And he was like, I want you to wrap me up, put me under your desk, trample me, and ignore me.
That sounds like an easy session.
That was fun.
That sounds like a quick.
He wanted it to get to Fight Club levels where, you know, I was really stomping hard on his face. And that was my limit. I'm like, I'm not going to break your nose.
Oh, so you have limits. You have your own limits.
Of course.
I'm not gonna. Right.
Yeah. You're not going out of here on a stretcher.
Right.
It doesn't matter how
Even
much
if
you
you
offer
want
me.
to.
No, I'm not doing that.
Wow. Okay, that's
What's
crazy.
like the number one request that these subs are making usually?
I attract domestic servants, sissification, feminization. I like sissies like me a lot, and I have fun with that.
Can you explain more what that means?
So it can be a man who otherwise presents masculine who wants to cross-dress, and usually they want to feel like a little girl. And they want to feel it with someone they're both attracted to who also feels motherly.
Right.
So it's kinky as fuck.
Interesting. So
yeah.
have you been with subs where like that was their first time doing something like that and it's like changed their life?
Yeah, and so they become like my little girl in that moment where I'm feminizing them,
Yeah.
but they're also oddly turned on.
There's a lot of pieces.
Yeah. Are they hard? Are they usually hard during this? They're turned on
They get
by it?
excited.
They do.
Yeah. I mean, I don't invite, you know, the dick to be the center focus.
Sex after like with them or
No,
never.
not, not professionally. Some of my romantic connections are DS, Domme Sub.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No,
So
that's
I'm kinky in my personal life.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I worry that I imagine myself meeting someone on an app and a girl says, "Hey, what are your kinks?" I say, "Well, I want to be wrapped in a syringe." Am I gonna be banned from the app forever? Like I can't get you can't get your Phil profile back, right? I'm gonna be banned too.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
You get banned too?
Oh, so many times.
Wait, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I don't think it's because I'm so out there, though. I think it's just like salty men who report
you?
me for not responding. Like, oh,
Same.
fake.
I had to make like 5 profiles because
Yes.
everyone thought I was fake because I would become in a really good mood and I'd be like, oh yeah, like you seem interesting. And then the next day when I'm no longer ovulating, I'm like, I don't really
You
want to
change
talk
your
to
mind.
you.
Yeah.
I changed my
But then you
mind.
ghosted them instead of saying, "Hey, I'm not interested," right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
if I had to go down the list and say I'm no longer interested, that would take me all
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reporting's too easy. I heard a hot take once. Like if you report someone and if it's a false reporting, you should get banned.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
Yeah. And there's not really an appeal process.
There
They
isn't.
just-
Nope. Not at all. And I tried making new emails. I tried like making something new on my computer, on my husband's phone. Their shit is whack, but when they ban someone,
Yep.
that's when they excel.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's-
That it works excellently when they ban people.
They're
Yeah.
really shooting themselves in the foot, though, because like you and I are both deeply involved in the lifestyle.
Right.
Like we are the ambassadors
That's what I'm saying.
of this app
I know.
until
I know.
you come take over.
I know, and
know.
and try to make room for people who, and the apps don't want to verify. If you verified everyone, then there wouldn't be this report. You'd have to report on something more significant. But we've dealt with people trying to ban people already, ban other people.
Just because they don't like them.
We've gotten like anonymous emails, like, "Hey, you should ban this person," and they never really say why. Like,
Right.
it's just weird stuff. It's online behavior. I think it's human behavior ending up on apps. Really, it's a cancel culture. I'm sorry, you've been canceled.
So
You know, but you seem to be doing well. You seem
There's
busy.
other ways to connect with people.
Okay, and before we're out of time, so every party that you talk about, the final line is, and maybe if you're lucky, you'll end up in Sophia's bathtub.
Oh
Okay?
yeah.
What's up with the bathtub?
So the bath is just sensual, right? You've got hot water, you've got soap. Whoever's in that bath is enjoying the exhibitionism because this is a public space. And so I'll take a volunteer to be the goddess. And then she can choose her handmaidens, or it can be men, or I will choose. And then I'll put her in the bath very sensually, and then she's tended to by all of her handmaidens or manservants, whoever it is.
Uh-huh.
And women's lives have been changed in that bath.
By being bathed by other people.
Yeah.
That's
Well, they're pleasured. but I'm directing it so that it's safe and sensual, and I introduce like other sensory elements.
It's so intimate.
How long do these like bath sessions last?
About 20 minutes.
I'm going to one of these.
Have you ever been bathed by someone, Layla?
I couldn't say I have. I've had people like, you know, will take a shower and they'll like wipe their cum off me, but like I've never. This is nice. That's some nice aftercare.
Like I'm gonna wipe just this one part that I impacted.
But no, I couldn't say I've ever been like bathed. But I imagine it would be like such a loving experience. But I also imagine I'd be like incredibly turned on too. Has anyone ever bathed you? Like, do you ever take a bath at one of your parties?
I've had subs bathe me, so I'll usually want to, if they're men, I like to deprive them of the male gaze, so I'll blindfold them.
Wait, in the bath or the whole time?
So they're tending to me from outside the bath, blindfolded.
Oh,
And
that's so cool.
yeah, I love it.
That is so cool. Well, this reminds me of another question I forgot to ask. Aftercare. Do you perform aftercare with your clients or with lifestyle?
Both.
Okay, you do both.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
And aftercare can be as simple as a conversation and a glass of water,
Yes.
or it can be a cuddle.
Yep.
It can be checking in the next day, especially if you did like impact play, where you left marks or they cried or something significant happened.
Yeah. My dom asked me, he was like, what kind of aftercare do you want? And I was like, nothing. Because I don't like cuddles. Like physical touch isn't my thing. So he was like, do you want to like cuddle? And I was like, no, like I get claustrophobic. But you're right. Like aftercare can also look like a text the next day, or, you know, having a nice conversation after and just unwinding. To me, like that's what my aftercare looks like. Where like, I think you like cuddles, don't you?
I like that. I do.
You do like cuddles. I feel like I know things about you that I don't know about you. I feel like you like aftercare. Do you not?
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes inside of a play party, I'd rather like pop a molly and let's just all like get in a bed together, right? Like it's just there's something nice about. I'm a physical touch person.
Yeah.
So then, therefore, I guess sure, I like cuddles. You just said it in such a way that was very dommy, and like,
you like a
well,
little snuggle puggle, little
and
cuddles,
I wanted to say
ya?
no. I was like, fuck no, I don't like cuddles.
I'm a man.
Hell no.
I don't cuddle. What about you personally? Like, do you like to receive aftercare?
Super cuddly. Yeah.
Okay, you like cuddles
I'm
after?
cuddly. And that's one thing I like about the parties that I have are more sensual than BDSM. There's often cuddle puddles with blankies on the floor and everyone's just having a good time.
Cute.
You don't have to go wild. You can kind of go soft too.
Okay, no, that's nice.
Yeah.
But like, do you want to talk more? Like, this is what my parties are. This is my website. So go ahead.
Yeah. So my parties are called boudoir soirees. I host them in my penthouse, and you can apply on my website at sophiadomina.com. All my guests are vetted, so there's a sense of safety there for anyone who attends. You can be new or more experienced. You can be single or coupled. You can be dom or sub, top or bottom. It's like a fun house party that then turns into a sex party.
That's so cool. How many people usually come?
About 30, 35.
That's like my perfect number. I want more than 20, but I want less than 50.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
perfect for me.
I went to one with 150 people, and it was like overwhelming.
Is that the one I went to?
No.
Oh.
You probably went to a different one with 150 people. I love the size of it. I definitely want to go. We'll coordinate so that we go at the same time.
That'd be really fun.
I love that.
We're also very picky on which parties we end up telling people to go to.
Oh, very, very picky.
Like there's less than a handful. So the fact that you're doing such a great job curating it, I mean, you just displayed incredible poise on this podcast.
Thank you.
And we get where your come from is. It feels like people would be safe going to your penthouse.
That's
what I get from this.
primary importance to me. And also just making sure each guest feels welcomed by me personally, because they don't know each other.
Right.
But they've seen me, at least online.
Right.
And they like what I'm about, or the mission of Female Pleasure First.
You were telling me that you're currently writing a book, or is it already out?
I'm finishing a book to be published early October. It's called Domme and Dommer. So there's obviously some humor in it. It's a fictionalization of my life, transforming from a Christian missionary to a pro-dom in LA.
Love it.
all the misadventures that have happened.
Love it.
Wow.
We need that content.
We're going to put your socials in the description so everyone can go down there and join the party and get to know Sophia a little bit better.
If you can publish that book without getting disfellowshipped, I'll talk to my parents. Okay. Then we're safe.
It might be the best PR move I ever do.
Yeah. Getting
Sued or disfellowshipped by the Watchtower organization.
Thanks for being here with us today,
Thank you
Sophia.
so
This is
much.
amazing.
I loved it. Thanks,
This is
guys.
amazing.
It has been such a pleasure getting to know you, and I want to chat more with you about a lot of things. This has been so informative and entertaining, and you are so beautiful, and just thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and to everyone in the audience, Layla and I will go check out the party. We will give a review and let you all know all the fun that we have at it. Maybe you'll even be there. So let's wrap it up right now. What do you think, Layla? Is that a good spot to wrap it today?
Do it, guys.
So until we see you next time, have fun out there. And if you have a chance, try something or try someone new.